Hi, Masterminds. Welcome to a Monday market update. What a day, what a 24, 48 hours geopolitically, macro-wise. There's a lot to digest here, but I think it does boil down quite simply on what we saw. And this will be, I'm going to try and intertwine this with the markets because we don't really want to be talking about politics, the entire time. But it is important. It's important we get the right signal from the noise and make sure we're understanding to the best we can on where this goes. So my high level view is that the assassination attempt on Trump is actually a black swan event. And that's not really saying anything too out there. It was an event no one saw coming. It's going to have wide ranging ramifications for markets, for the United States, for the world as a whole. So that's what I wanted to get across. And I think this has actually marked the Bitcoin bottom. And I think as well for the potential decline in the United States. I think this is a seminal moment in history. We do see them sometimes where it's just like, it captures you. Wow. I mean, January 6th was similar, but a bit different. This was a front runner in the presidency race, just a firecracker of a candidate on both sides, because it's the end of democracy if he wins. If it's not, it's just an insane, fascism and he's the next Hitler, all this kind of stuff. It ratcheted things up to boiling point. But I just want to put this image up. And there's this thing with America and Americans. They love the fire, the passion of patriotism. And every now and then it gets relit. There's a fire that gets thrown underneath the people of the United States. And I'm just going off, modern history. So ever since they were, formed after they fought the English and won their independence and formed the United States. Whenever there's been a hugely consequential moment of adversity in the United States that captures the attention of the nation, they rise to the occasion. Will this be another moment? I feel like it is, just based on what I'm seeing, what I'm reading, the fourth turning, where we are in it. There will be a moment where it reaches its peak, and when we start to move in a more positive direction the other way. But just in the moment, that image there, and I can't tell you how powerful this image has been, especially like online and through Twitter. And Trump, in my view, won the election. He was already winning prior to this, but he won the election from this image alone. He was shot, he stood up, he pumped his fist to the crowd and yelled, "Fight, fight, fight." That just lights a fire. In that moment, he showed character, he showed strength, and he showed courage. Now, most Americans, it's a very militarized population. Obviously, how many wars they've fought, they've got a very heavy, expat veteran community that feel they've been sort of left behind and forgotten. And this endless cycle of, I guess, nonsense. They just see that very simple. It's a very simple human image of strength, of courage in the face of adversity. And I think that this will win a Pulitzer. I mean, this image captures everything. I mean, it's perfect. Fist in the air, blood on his face, Secret Service trying to throw him down. You got the American flag flying in the background. It's invoking. It really is, of the patriotic spirit. And I just don't think the Democrats can come up with anything even close to this. And again, they were not beating Trump, at all before this, and they're absolutely not going to beat him now. Barring anything crazy. This is and I'm going to give you a bit of data to sort of back that. And polls, again, have been historically quite hit or miss in the American election base. But this is after the assassination attempt. This is the swing states which Biden needs to carry, essentially all of them. Look at the gaps have now turned into a chasm, essentially. You look at this, Pennsylvania, new high, Trump, new high, Trump, new high, new high. So after the assassination of Trump has got a massive push higher, and it was very similar to Reagan when there was an assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan, president at the time. He had a 22% bump in the polls after that. It's a sympathy vote. There's a feeling of coming together, of unity behind that person. It's sticking with your guy, that type of feeling. And that's what's kind of happening in the United States. There's on Twitter, and I don't think there was Twitter around 9/11, so you can't really bring it to something like that. But there is that feeling, that patriotic patriotic feeling around just everyone on there at the moment. Even the left, like the left now sound a little bit deranged. Those are not sort of speaking down against this. They sound a bit deranged, saying it was staged and all that kind of stuff. And you can dive into the conspiracies and all that. But broadly, the center is really coming alive here, which is really, really important. And again, I'm going to talk through this and then I'm going to bring it back to markets. But this is very telling in terms of the polls. So again, we're pushing it towards the markets. Markets like more certainty, especially in the crypto sphere. We know, Trump is so bullish on Bitcoin and crypto, at least he has of late. This gives us more certainty. This what gives me hope that the Bitcoin low has been well and truly put in here as we've moved back above 60K. Again, the black swan has sort of pushed us higher, I think. There's a bit more certainty. A lot of the selling, all that fear is now out of the market. So this is very interesting. I'll just move on over to Bill Ackman, who was a lifelong Democrat. And this is what I mean across, how I'm saying across the spectrum. There is what Trump's this attempt has done will force the undecideds, the people in the middle, to make a decision, make a choice. There are we know Trump supporters were going to vote anyway, but this means what's happened here, this will activate every single Trump supporter across the spectrum to vote no matter what. This will also likely convince some people in the middle, some undecideds. They see that photo, they see the patriotism, they feel it. They're like, we need to, have a majority in government. We need to just crush this weakness that we're seeing here. In the nation, because it is heavily divided. One side needs a very firm majority to govern. That's my feeling in the US. But Bill Ackman here, again, lifelong Democrat, and he's been waning on the Democratic side. He's been very vocal critic of how the Democrats have behaved, how Biden is sort of sticking around and whatnot. He is now very publicly come out, and again, he is one of the most famous billionaires on Wall Street. He's flipped sides. He's now saying, I fully endorse President Trump, and he has some really interesting takes, and it's a really great case of a very smart, intelligent individual taking all the information in, and he's been very vocal about his thought process, and it's been fascinating to watch how he's talking through it, seeing everything that's going on at universities and whatnot, and he's just saying, look, I think I'm changing who I'm going to vote for in this election. Here's my reasons why. Smart people change their mind when presented with new information. And again, I'm not having a go at Biden here. I think whoever you want to vote, if you're American and watching this, whoever you want to vote for, that's completely up to you. I'm not an American. I can't vote in the election. I've got no dog in this. But I just look at what Bill says here. So the other implication of recent events is that the probability of President of the United States Biden stepping aside now is very close to zero. Democratic Party will not be able to find anyone capable willing to run against Donald J. Trump with no good potential replacement. The pressure on Biden to step aside will dissipate quickly. Biden was not going to go easily without pressure. He will stay in the seat and run. Biden will be the nominee. So if we accept that, Biden is going to run against Trump and he's going to lose, because that's kind of how it was positioned prior to this event. And now it's just gotten worse. Biden is getting weaker and Trump is getting stronger. No one can dispute that. The election will likely be a Trump landslide, and that's a good thing. With a substantial majority behind him, Trump will be able to recruit best-in-class talent for his administration. He'll be more effective in office without the distractions of a close election. With a less divided country, he'll be able to execute more effectively. A divided America is a weak America. Let's help Trump succeed. So just broadly, again, a feeling of unity, which it's not there yet. Most of the country still doesn't want, obviously, Trump, but it doesn't matter. As long as there is a feeling of togetherness, and okay, we've reached a point here with a vitriol and calling one side a Hitler and a fascist and the end of democracy and all this kind of stuff. It's not good for anyone. This will be really fantastic for markets if this can actually move forward in a really positive manner. This is one of the most famous pollsters in the US. He's always on CNN and MSNBC and stuff. And I found his stuff really interesting because he really doesn't have a bias when he's just looking at the polling data. He's been really, really good to follow. So it's Frank Luntz. So I'll just quickly whiz through this. Saturday shooting in Pennsylvania will have huge impact election day. It will guarantee that every Trump supporter now will be a Trump voter in November. Trump's voters are energized. Biden's voters are demoralized. In recent months, President Trump has benefited from more passionate, engaged followers than the Biden campaign, but the shooting will turn that intensity gap into a chasm. The participation gap is worth at least 1 to 2%, and because the shooting happened in Pennsylvania, the impact will be most significant in Pennsylvania. So again, it's not. I mean, if you remember, in the United States, it's not compulsory to vote like it is in Australia. So not only do candidates have to, obviously get your vote, they have to encourage people, the undecideds, who may not go out and vote in the first place. They have to convince them to come to the polling station and vote. And I think this event, and like he's pointing out, is will there be Biden voters that might actually just not vote or feel less motivated or incentivized to go and vote? Will there be undecideds that will either vote for Trump now, or will they just not vote at all, versus maybe putting in a vote for Biden? So there's lots of strings to pull here. Oh, and he finishes with that image as well. Excuse me. Trump's defiant pose, fist in the air as he was being led off stage, bleeding, will be the visual people remember at the polling booth when they think about the election 2024. It's hard to imagine either Biden or the Democrat candidates delivering something similar. And it's so true. I mean, it's a lot of this is marketing, a lot of this is narrative, a lot of this is feeling and emotion. And this sort of image and the feeling that you're just seeing on Twitter, I'm sure you have as well. That's momentum, and it's a very strong, powerful entity in itself. And we are so close to the election, unless there's anything silly that happens from here, which you can never rule out, just seems really on the money. And we're talking about not only those swing states that are in the battleground states are in a lot of trouble. There's again this patriotism that I was just telling you about all over Twitter. There are videos now in heavy Democratic states that have been voted historically towards the Democratic Party, like California. It's one of the biggest states with the biggest amount of delegates, essentially. There's just people randomly on bridges today, walking down sidewalks, massive sort of just organic movements of people with flags, with Trump flags. So this is what I mean by the patriotism. It's sort of similar. I remember hearing Joe Rogan talk about 9/11, what it was like to be in the United States when that happened. There's just everyone with flags everywhere. Everyone was out. It was like, Christmas Day in Australia or whatnot, where you feel like everyone's just, in a really good mode, feeling of togetherness, unity, but it's kind of like all in together, the Pearl Harbor moment, the Black Swan. And again, it's both sides of politics that really need to come together. And I hate kind of saying that's very cliche, but if you can feel that momentum, you can just join it, and you can still disagree with policies and how things are going. But this is how strong nations really get stress tested and reveal themselves. I think this is actually that really good point for the US, that they can try and dig themselves out of it. And now, I just bringing you back to markets and Bitcoin. We've got the momentum with Trump, right? Then you bring Bitcoin into the equation. Despite yesterday's assassination attempt, Donald Trump's team has reportedly said that he will still attend and speak at Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville this month. Can you imagine the electricity, the power behind it, especially if he says something crazy like we're putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet as a strategic reserve asset? This is David Bailey, the head of the Bitcoin magazine. I've just spoken with Trump's presidential team. He's in good spirits and excited to see you all in Nashville, deliver a speech that's heard around the world. So he's still coming. He's still going to do it, which is pretty wild. Now, let's get into the charts because we've spoken a bit about that. This is a pretty critical moment for Bitcoin. I'm very, very bullish on this. Like I said, I think it was a black swan that marked the bottom in Bitcoin. So the selling was kind of relentless. We got down to 53.6. What's really, really important for me though here is we've closed on the daily back above the 200-day moving average. We have climbed back above 60,000, and we're at 61,000 at the moment. So this is not, sort of like we're in the clear now. This is the best thing I wanted to see, for me to think, okay, we're pretty much there. We don't want to, just sort of have a wick into this area and then come back down and close, beneath 60K and the 200. That's kind of the level. But so far, this looks incredible. So that's a great chart. I'm just going to pull it up to the weekly and see if we've climbed back above on the close on any of the moving averages. We haven't yet. This would be very typical of Bitcoin to do that breakdown, close here and then close back next week and wipe out this, and then we're off to that next stage of the bull market. So on the weekly, I want to see us close above the 10 EMA on the weekly, and also the 20 above 65,000. That's when we're really off to the races, guys. But it's kind of similar to some of these previous pull downs. This is more extreme, but I mean, it's pretty typical of Bitcoin how it does its breakdowns. But again, we just don't want to be too overly confident. From an FA perspective, I think it's in the low up to everything I've just said. But of course, technically it may not be. So just want to keep that there. Ethereum as well. We've got to remember we've got the Ethereum ETF coming up, very, very soon. It's reclaimed its 200. So Ethereum, big three, Ethereum, Solana, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin had not reclaimed its 200 over the weekend, and that was the one thing I was kind of like, oh, a bit iffy about. But I saw Ethereum and Solana showing strength and getting back above those key moving averages. But the Ethereum ETF, powering away here. Ethereum's kind of leading the board here. Solana back above 150, fantastic. Love to see it. So it's kind of going into that zone. I was really thinking it would 160 region before maybe creating that higher low. Would love that, and then a breakout. So across the board here, stacks, back above 150. See, the market can turn really, really quickly, and it's kind of like climbing a wall of worry. That's what we're seeing at the moment, where most of the people that we've been shaken out of this time-based capitulation have kind of given up, and now we're just seeing kind of now that we've got some kind of momentum, it can build, and it can build really, really fast. So I think we've got all the makings here of that next major leg. We just want to keep moving through these levels. And yeah, just watching these charts and watching the news come in. I think that's really important as well. The Ethereum ETF coming out soon. It's going to be a really great thing to watch. And also what's happening in the US with Trump speaking at Nashville Bitcoin conference, potentially dropping some bombs. So guys, hope you've enjoyed this episode. Yeah, very, very interesting time in history, I think, and we're living through it. So hope you have a wonderful day. And yeah, any questions or comments, leave them below and we can have a chat. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.